When the third old man finished his story, the Jinni fell silent. He looked at the merchant, then at the three men standing before him. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the Jinni said, "You have told stories full of wisdom and suffering, and because of what I have heard, I forgive the merchant." The merchant fell to the ground, overcome with relief. And peace returned once more. Then Shahrazada continued her storytelling. She said, "Long ago, there lived a poor fisherman. He had a wife and 3 children. He was very poor. Every day he went to the sea to cast his fishing net. But he had one rule. He would throw his net only 4 times each day. One day, around noon, he went to the shore. He cast his net into the sea and waited. After some time, he pulled the net back. But instead of fish, he found something terrible. Inside the net was the dead body of a donkey. The fisherman sighed with sadness. He removed the animal and repaired his torn net. Then he cast the net a second time. Again, the net became heavy. He hoped for fish, but when he pulled it up, he found only a large jar filled with mud and sand. The fisherman became discouraged. Still, he prepared to throw the net again. Then he returned to the sea for his third cast. He threw the net into the water and waited. When he pulled it back, he found only broken glass and pieces of pottery. The fisherman grew very discouraged. He lifted his eyes toward the sky. "Oh God," he said, "you know that I throw my net only 4 times each day. This is already the 3rd time, and still you have given me nothing." Then he prepared for the 4th and final cast. He threw the net into the sea again. This time the net became heavy. He struggled to pull it to the shore. At last he opened the net. Inside it was a strange jar of yellow copper. The jar was sealed with a lid of lead, and stamped upon the lid was the seal of the ancient king Solomon. The fisherman rejoiced. "If I sell this jar in the market," he said, "I may earn enough money to feed my family." He shook the jar, but nothing came out. So he took his knife and carefully broke the seal. He lifted the lid and looked inside. The jar appeared empty, but suddenly a thin stream of smoke began to rise from the jar. The fisherman stepped back in fear. The smoke continued rising, higher and higher, until it formed a huge dark cloud in the sky. Then the smoke gathered together and took the shape of a gigantic jinn. The creature's head touched the clouds. His feet stood firmly on the ground. His eyes burned with fire. The fisherman trembled with fear. The jinn looked at him and cried out loudly, "There is no God but God, and Solomon is the prophet of God." Then the jinn lowered his head and said, "O Solomon, forgive me. I will never again disobey your commands." The fisherman stared at the giant creature. "O mighty spirit," he said, "Solomon has been dead for many centuries. Tell me, who are you? And why were you imprisoned in that jar?" The giant jinn looked down at the fisherman. Then he spoke with a terrible voice. "Listen to my story," he said. "I am one of the rebellious spirits. Long ago I refused to obey the great King Solomon. So Solomon sent his minister, Asaph, son of Barkiah, to capture me. I was brought before Solomon in chains. He commanded me to believe in God and obey his rule, but I refused. So Solomon ordered that I be imprisoned. He sealed me inside this jar of copper with a lid of lead, and upon the lid he placed his sacred seal. Then the jar was thrown into the depths of the sea. The fisherman listened with wide eyes. The jinn continued, "For the first 100 years, I swore that if anyone freed me, I would reward him with great riches. But no one came. For the next 100 years I promised that whoever released me would receive the treasures of the earth. But still no one came. Then I swore that whoever freed me would have 3 wishes granted. But again, no one came. The Jinn's voice grew darker. Finally, after many centuries of anger and loneliness, my heart filled with rage. So I swore an oath. Whoever released me from this jar, I would kill. But I would allow him to choose the way he wished to die. The fisherman trembled. But I am the one who freed you, he said. I pulled the jar from the sea. I opened it. Why would you kill the man who saved your life? The Jinn looked down at him coldly. You must die, he said, but I will allow you to choose your death. The fisherman stood silently for a moment. Then he said to himself, This is a powerful spirit, but God has given me intelligence. Perhaps I can save my life. So he spoke again to the Jinn. Tell me something, he said. Do you truly expect me to believe that you were inside that small jar? The Jinn frowned. What do you mean? He asked. You are enormous, the fisherman said. Your head touches the clouds. Your hands are as large as trees. How could such a great creature fit inside that little jar? The Jinn became angry. Do you doubt my words? He said. Yes, replied the fisherman. I will not believe it until I see it with my own eyes. The Jinn shouted with pride. Watch carefully. Immediately his great body began to dissolve into smoke. The smoke rose into the air and slowly returned into the jar. Little by little the smoke disappeared inside. Soon the entire spirit was inside the jar again. A voice came from within. You see, I was inside the jar. But the fisherman moved quickly. He seized the lid of lead. He placed it firmly over the mouth of the jar, and he sealed it shut. Now the Jinn was trapped again. The fisherman lifted the jar and smiled. Now, he said, it is your turn to beg for mercy. Inside the sealed jar, the Jinn cried out in anger. Open the jar, he shouted. Release me at once. But the fisherman laughed. Just moments ago you promised to kill me. Now you ask me to free you. The Jinn's voice softened. If you release me, I will reward you, he said. But the fisherman shook his head. You swore to kill the one who freed you. I will not make the same mistake again. Then he lifted the jar and walked toward the sea. I will throw you back into the water, he said, and I will warn every fisherman never to free you again. When the Jinn heard this, he became afraid. Wait, he cried, do not throw me into the sea. But the fisherman continued walking. I swear, the Jinn said quickly, I will not harm you. I will reward you instead. The fisherman stopped. Then he said, I do not trust your promises, but I will tell you a story. It is the story of King Yunan and the wise physician Duban. When you hear it, you will understand why I cannot trust you. And so the fisherman began his tale. The fisherman began his story. Listen carefully, he said to the Jinn. This story is about a king named Yunan. Long ago, King Yunan ruled over the city of Fars in the land of Rum. He was a powerful king. He had armies, guards, and great wealth. But the king suffered from a terrible disease. His body was covered with leprosy. Many physicians tried to cure him. They gave him medicines, ointments, and potions, but nothing helped. Then one day, a wise physician arrived in the city. His name was Duban. He was an old man, but he possessed great knowledge. He understood medicine, plants, and the secrets of healing. When Duban heard about the king's illness, he said, I can cure the king without giving him medicine to drink and without applying ointments.